Before we begin, take a moment to get comfortable. Let your arms go heavy, your breath slow. And as you listen, feel free to leave a comment sharing what time it is, where you are, and what city or village you're listening from. It's love to know. And if you'd like more quiet stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe so they gently appear when you need them most. Now, let's begin. There's a quiet garden inside you. No sunlight falls on its soil. No breeze rustles its leaves. And yet it is teeming, lush, strange, essential. You carry it with you always, through meals, through sleep, through every twist of thought. It lies behind your belly button, beyond your ribs, tucked into the long, winding corridors of your gut. Here, in the soft folds of your intestines, are trillions of living things, more than there are stars in the Milky Way, more than your own human cells, bacteria, mostly, but also viruses, fungi, archaea, a teeming menagerie of microbial life, so dense and diverse that scientists call it a microbiome. But you can think of it as a forest, not just any forest, a rainforest, rich with species, each one with its niche, its role, its rhythm. Some digest fiber, some harvest vitamins, some simply keep the others in check, and many speak not with voices, not with language, but with chemicals, with enzymes, hormones, neurotransmitters, a drop here, molecule there, and suddenly your mood shifts, your appetite changes, your dreams ripple in a new direction. You may feel it as a craving, or a flutter, or a heaviness you can't name, but it may begin here, among the leaves of your hidden garden. You weren't born with this forest. You arrived blank, untouched. Your gut in the womb was sterile, not a single microbe within you. And then, birth. That first breath, that first cry, and the microbes came rushing in from your mother's skin. Her milk, the air, the world. A microbial colonization. Not an invasion, a gift. Within days, your gut was no longer yours alone. It became a home, a habitat, and that was just the beginning. Every bite of food, every lick of a spoon, every touch of dirt and kiss and scrape, it all shaped the garden. It changed who lived there and how they lived. You don't control this forest. Not fully, but you tend it every day. You feed it with your choices, your habits, and it feeds you. It helps you digest. It keeps pathogens at bay. It shapes your immune system, trains it, calms it, and, quietly, it may shape your mind, because here's what the science is starting to see. This isn't just a digestive system, It's a communication center, a hub, a chorus, and it sings to your brain, not with words, but with molecules, traveling through blood, whispering through nerves, nudging your thoughts. You may think. A mood comes from your head, a cloud of sadness, a burst of energy, a calm so deep it feels like sleep. But perhaps it begins here in the soil of your belly, among the microbes harvesting fiber, among the bacterial colonies making serotonin, dopamine, GABA, familiar names. Those chemicals you've heard about in psychology. Your body makes them, but so do your guests. Some bacteria brew neurotransmitters. Others trigger your own cells to make them. Still others shape how those messages are sent, how they're heard. Your gut is not a passive place. It's active, responsive, curious. And when something goes wrong in the garden, you feel it, not just as bloating or cramps, but as restlessness, fog, irritability, or a melancholy that doesn't have a reason. A disturbed microbiome is like a sick forest. Its canopy thins, its balance tips. Can't the animals inside? They get louder or quieter or disappear altogether, and the world inside you shifts. You may crave sugar, because some microbes love sugar and shout when they're hungry. You may lose your appetite because inflammation clouds the signals between gut and brain, and you may not know why you feel off, but your microbes might, because they've been there. Every moment, watching, learning, this inner garden has memory. It remembers what you eat, how you sleep. When you move, it adjusts to your habits. It evolves, and it's different for everyone. Your microbial fingerprint is more unique than your DNA. No two guts alike. Even identical twins carry different forests because your life, your choices, your meals, your moments, they all leave an imprint. So when you ask, who am I? Part of the answer is microbial. You are a superorganism, a walking ecosystem. You are human and not human, self and symphony, and you've always been this way. It's only now, only recently, that science has begun to see the forest for the trees, to realize that the gut is not just a digestive tube, but a landscape of feeling, a stage for mind and mood. And so the question arises, who's in charge? Are the microbes simply passengers, riding along, adapting to your choices? Or are they steering, influencing your cravings, your thoughts, your comfort, your dreams, not as masters, not as villains, but as co-authors, co-pilots, gardeners, and guides? And if that's true, if your inner ecosystem has a say in how you feel, then tending the garden becomes more than just health. It becomes self-care at the deepest level, not just for your body, but for your peace, your presence, your clarity, and maybe for your joy. Because inside you, right now, a garden grows, soft, unseen, live. And maybe that's where the next message comes from. A whisper, a shift, a feeling just beneath your breath. One that begins not in your mind, but in the hidden world beneath your ribs. You think of yourself as human. Flesh, bone, skin, thought. A collection of cells wrapped in memory. But count again. Not just the cells that carry your DNA, but all the living things that call your body home. You'll find that you are outnumbered. For every human cell in your body, there may be as many as 3 microbial cells. Bacteria, mostly. But also archaea, fungi, viruses. If you gathered them all, shook loose every bacterium from your skin, your gut, your lungs, they would weigh about 3 pounds, roughly the weight of your brain. And like your brain, they do far more than just sit quietly. They think, in a way. They sense. They respond. They influence your chemistry, your energy, your emotions. They are not intruders. They are residents. Long-term, loyal, and deeply entwined with your biology. Some scientists call them commensals, organisms that live alongside you, benefiting, without harm. But increasingly, we see them as partners. You evolve together. Your ancestors carried these microbes too, generation after generation, passing down not just genes, but ecosystems. Your gut, for instance, has specific niches, little valleys and ridges, oxygen-rich here, anaerobic there, all designed by evolution to support microbial life. Your body isn't just tolerating these creatures, it is shaped to accommodate them, and they return the favor. They help digest food you can't. They synthesize vitamins you don't make. They modulate your immune system, teaching it to recognize friend from foe. Without them, you'd be more vulnerable, more inflamed, less nourished. Even your metabolism dances to their rhythm. But they don't just live in your gut. They are in your mouth, shaping the health of your teeth and gums, on your skin, protecting you from invaders, in your nose and lungs, calibrating your immune responses. They form thin films, like invisible cities, each one adapted to its environment, each one talking, not to you directly, but to your cells, your nerves, your hormones. Chemical conversations hum beneath your awareness. In microbial language, made of molecules, sometimes they send signals that talk on your inflammation. Other times, they warn of danger, triggering fevers, immune cascades, or pain. They are not neutral. They have interests. They want to survive, to thrive, to reproduce. And sometimes, their interests align with yours. When your microbes are healthy, you feel it in digestion, in energy, in mood, but when their balance tips, when helpful species dwindle and opportunists grow. You may not notice it immediately. You may just feel not quite yourself, a little more anxious, a little more foggy, a little more inflamed. And here's the remarkable thing. This isn't abstract theory. Studies have shown that people with certain microbiome patterns are more likely to struggle with depression or anxiety or inflammatory conditions. Correlation is not causation, but it is a whisper worth listening to. When researchers transplant gut microbes from anxious mice into calm mice, the calm mice begin to act anxious and vice versa. It's as if personality can be shaped, or at least nudged, by the microbial balance within. And perhaps that's not so surprising. After all, these creatures don't live far away. They live inside you, touching your cells, sipping your nutrients, swimming in your chemicals. And some of them are old, very old. Bacteria are among the earliest life forms on Earth. They shaped the planet's atmosphere long before animals emerged. They've survived mass extinctions. For date, they've endured ice ages and asteroid strikes. And now, they've in your colon. They have outlived empires, and they may outlive you. But for now, you are their host, their environment, their opportunity, and they are your mirror. Because when you change in diet, in sleep, and stress, they change to dot your lifestyle, reshapes your microbiome daily. Eat more fiber, certain bacteria bloom. Eat more sugar, and others take their place. Travel to a new place, and your inner ecosystem adapts. Take antibiotics, and entire microbial families may vanish. They are sensitive to your life, and in turn, they shape it. It's a feedback loop, dance, an invisible partnership. So when you think of yourself, your body, your identity, your selfhood, remember this: you are not one. You are many. You are a holobiont, a collection of species living in cooperation, a colony, a community, living, breathing ecosystem, walking on two legs. And perhaps that changes how you see health, not as a personal state, but as a balance of many lives, not as one system alone, but as symbiosis. You cannot see them, but they are with you. When you eat, when you rest, when you think, they are not passengers. They are co-pilots, helping shape the chemistry of who you are, and perhaps who you will become. Because the next time you feel something, a sudden a shift in mood, a craving that comes from nowhere, might not be your thoughts. It might be your garden speaking. You often think of thought as a thing that happens in your head. Ideas spark behind your eyes. Memories unfold like leaves across your mind's garden. You imagine your brain as the control room, the silent operator behind everything you feel. But now, soften your awareness. Move gently downward, past your chest, into the soft, winding coils of your abdomen. Listen there, where no thoughts form, but something still responds. This is where your second brain lives. It doesn't write poems. It doesn't analyze philosophy, but it knows things. It responds to joy, danger, comfort, hunger, grief. It remembers habits. It recognizes familiar rhythms. And sometimes, it reacts even faster than your conscious mind. This is the enteric nervous system, a vast web of over 100 million neurons woven into the lining of your gastrointestinal tract. It stretches from your esophagus to your rectum, a silent, squiggling strand of intelligence. And it doesn't wait for orders from your brain. It acts on its own. When you feel butterflies in your stomach, that's not a metaphor. It's your second brain fluttering in response to emotional signals. When you feel a gut instinct, something real is happening. Neuroelectric, it's chemical. This second brain doesn't think like your head does. It doesn't construct stories or solve puzzles, but it perceives, and it reacts with precision. It manages the delicate dance of digestion, knowing when to secrete enzymes, when to push food forward, when to slow, when to stop. In this, it does with no conscious thought. as if your body were meditating on its own well-being. But this second brain does more than digest. It communicates. There is a long, winding superhighway of nerves called the vagus nerve, and it's the main bridge between your gut and your brain. Signals pass both ways, but most of them travel upward. That's right. Your gut sends more information to your brain than your brain sends down. And what kinds of messages? Not words, not pictures, but sensations, states, subtle shifts in mood, hunger, satiety.com. Alarm, it's a chemical language. Okay. And your microbiome, those tiny, unseen residents, help compose the sentences. Some of them nudge your cells to produce serotonin. Others help release dopamine. Still, others influence cortisol, the stress hormone, and your gut's second brain listens, not just to your thoughts, but to these microbial messengers. Imagine an orchestra inside you, composed of nerves, bacteria, hormones, and cells, each playing softly, each influencing the score of your emotions, and somehow you feel it. Maybe you've noticed how certain foods calm you, or how anxiety feels like a tight knot, not in your mind, but in your belly. That isn't just coincidence. The enteric nervous system helps regulate inflammation, and inflammation is deeply tied to mental states. A gut out of balance can trigger chemical cascades, and the brain, up above, reacts. This isn't just poetic. Studies show that people with irritable bowel conditions often struggle with anxiety or depression, not as a side effect, but as a shared signal, as if both brains were crying out together. And what's more, second brain learns. It doesn't form memories like your hippocampus does, but it adapts to diet, to routine, to emotion. Your gut's neurons can become more sensitive over time. They can overreact if exposed to stress, or calm down with reassurance and rhythm. That's why routines matter. Why the food you eat, the time you eat it, the way you move, all affect the second brain. It craves regularity, not for control, but for comfort, because comfort for the enteric brain means safety, and safety is the foundation of peace. You see, but brain in your head is built for prediction. It wants to prepare you for what's next. But the brain in your belly, it wants to survive this moment. It wants to digest, to rest, to keep balance. It's older, in a way, more primal, and perhaps that's why it so often senses danger first. Before you feel afraid, before you even realize why your stomach, TENSES, your intestines, slow. Your body draws energy away from digestion and prepares to flee. Fight or flight begins here, deep in the belly's nervous whispers. And when peace returns, when the moment passes, your breath slows and your shoulders soften, it is this second brain that gently resumes the quiet work of living. And what about joy? The warmth after a meal, the glow that comes with comfort food, the deep exhale when you're wrapped in a soft blanket. These are not just pleasures of the mind. Are acknowledgments from your enteric system. Yes, it says, we are safe. You can rest. So maybe you begin to wonder, if this second brain can sense, can signal, can learn, can remember, what else can it do? Could it be shaping your personality? Could it be tuning the way you experience the world? Small ways? Yes, because when your belly feels well, you often feel more grounded, more present. When it's off, your whole sense of self can shift. And in this sense, you are not just a mind living in a body. You are a body that feels, that knows, that remembers in more than one place. Your intelligence isn't trapped behind your eyes. It extends downward through the chest, the stomach, the bowels, all the way to the nerves that hum in your hips, each part sensing, each part learning, each part remembering, and together they form the full feeling of you. So, the next time you sense something, an intuition, a gut reaction, a wave of calm pause, listen to your center, feel your middle. Let your second brain speak, because it already knows what your conscious mind is only just beginning to understand. It knows the rhythm of your day. It knows the ache of your worry. It knows the flavor of your rest. And it's been with you since before you could speak. A quiet twin, a silent partner, a second brain that fills the world, helps you navigate it from within. And as you breathe now soft, deep, slow, you begin to wonder, your gut can sense so much. What happens when it sends signals? What happens when it speaks upward through that long vagus nerve and begins to influence the mood you thought was your own? What if the direction of thought flows both ways? You are made of wires, not copper, not steel, but living threads of impulse and breath. Electricity hums through you, delicate currents leaping silently across synapses, and among all those threads, one is longer, older, and more mysterious than most. It begins at the base of your skull, not far from where thought and breath are born. And from there, it meanders down past your throat, through your chest, into your lungs, your heart, your liver, all the way to your gut. This is the vagus nerve. Its name means wandering. And indeed, it drifts like a quiet river through the entire inner landscape of your body. It doesn't just carry orders. It listens. It carries news in both directions, from brain to belly. Digest now. Rest. Slow the heartbeat. And from belly to brain, all is calm. I'm full. I'm afraid. Over 80% of the messages flow upward. That surprises most people. We're used to thinking of the brain as the master and the body as obedient. But your body is more like a counsel. Okay? In the good, your second brain sends more memos than it receives. The vagus nerve is how it speaks. And what does it say? It doesn't speak in words. It speaks in sensations. Okay? In rhythms. In tides of emotion. When you feel sudden dread in your chest. When your stomach twists for no clear reason. When your breath quickens or slows without a thought. The vagus may be delivering a message. A bacteria-triggered signal. A hormonal shift. A memory rooted not in the mind, but in the guts. Silent remembering. You felt it. The calm after a deep exhale. The slow melt of tension when someone you love touches your hand. The warm sense of safety after a comforting meal. All of this is vagus work, the parasympathetic nervous system in action. Okay. The rest and digest pathway, gently flooding you with calm. This calm is not passive. It's alive. A biological gift, a peace your body actively builds. The vagus nerve activates organs too slow to heal, to relax. It lowers your heart rate, signals your gut to resume digestion. It encourages saliva, tears, soft breath. It's the reason meditation slows your pulse. The reason singing can soothe anxiety. The reason humming in the shower feels so good. All of these actions stimulate the vagus, like stroking a harp that plays from belly to brain, and the gut responds to your microbes. It's quiet and microscopic to produce molecules that nudge the vagus nerve. Tiny chemical keys turn in neural locks. Some bacteria send signals that reduce inflammation. Others help release serotonin, which the vagus may carry upward. This isn't imagination. It's science, messy, unfolding, but real. In studies with mice, scientists transplant microbiomes from anxious humans to rodents, and the mice become more anxious. If the vagus is severed, the effect disappears, which means the gut sends mood through the vagus, and without that golden thread, the signal is lost. It's astonishing that your emotions might be a duet between two organs miles apart, your head and your gut. You felt it without knowing. Before an exam, your stomach churns. Before love, your belly flutters. When grief strikes, your appetite vanishes. We say, I feel it in my gut. And perhaps we always did. The vagus isn't just a nerve. It's a bridge between instinct and awareness, between survival and thought. between the microbiome's chemical chatter and the quiet swirl of mood in your mind. And like any bridge, it can weaken or grow strong. Stress, trauma, poor diet, these can dull vagal tone. The signals become tangled. The gut speaks in static. The brain listens with confusion. You may feel constant fatigue, mood swings, sense that your emotions are louder than they should be, or dimmer than you expect. But the good news, the vagus can be nourished, toned like a muscle, loved back into strength. How? By breathing slowly, by humming, by splashing your face with cold water, by laughing, by resting, by doing the very things your body longs for, but often forgets in its rush to be productive. Even kindness nourishes the vagus. Compassion lowers stress hormones. Safety builds better rhythms. Gentle touch can regulate a spiraling system, and when the vagus thrives, you feel it. Your digestion improves. Your heart rate variability, an important marker of health, stabilizes. Your body begins to trust the world again, and so does your mind. That's the quiet magic of this wandering nerve. It teaches you that emotions are not just ideas. They are signals in muscle, enzyme, breath, and more than that, they are shared, because the vagus helps others feel you, to dot your tone of voice, your posture, your micro-expressions. They all reflect vagal state, and they all affect the people around you. When you're regulated, others relax. When you're calm, they trust you. This isn't mysticism. It's the biology of empathy. It's why one person's anxiety can flood a room, and why one person's peace can anchor a crowd. The vagus is the whisper beneath the noise, the song under the speech. It reminds you that you are not separate. You are connected to yourself, to your microbes, to other nervous systems, to the world, and perhaps even to memory, because the vagus plays a role in consolidating emotional experience. You remember better when your body is calm. You retain more when your gut is still. You learn faster when you feel safe. This nerve doesn't just send signals. It creates the conditions for memory, for growth, for love. And still, it asks so little. A breath, a pause, a hum, a sip of warm tea, a quiet walk at dusk. Simple things, ancient things, the kind of care your body remembers, even when you forget. So tonight, as you rest, feel the weight of your belly. Feel the air move through your chest. Feel the slow pulse in your fingertips. This is the vagus humming. This is your body talking to itself. It's a river of calm between two minds. And just before you drift deeper, let yourself wonder. This golden nerve carries feeling from gut to brain. What happens when your gut becomes a pharmacy? What happens when bacteria start producing mood? What if serotonin is not just a brain thing, but a microbial offering from your belly to your soul? Your soul. You eat, and something stirs, not just in your taste buds or in your stomach's soft churn, but deeper, quieter, in a place without names. There, a community waits, a source of invisible creatures, too small to see, too important to ignore. They greet your food like a message, not as flavor, not as pleasure, but as raw material, because your microbes are more than guests. They are alchemists. Their job is not just to break down food, but to transform it, to take in fiber, fat, and sugar, and exhale molecules that you will feel as emotion. It sounds like magic, but it's science. Your gut bacteria create neurochemicals, molecules once believed to live only in the brain. Serotonin, dopamine, GABA, names you've heard in therapy rooms, in antidepressant ads, in books about happiness. And yet, over 90% of your serotonin is made outside your brain. It's brewed in your gut by bacteria, in the darkness, in the quiet. Serotonin is often called the feel-good chemical, but that's only part of its story. It regulates mood, yes, but also sleep, appetite, digestion, even blood clotting. It's a regulator, a balancer, a kind of internal peacekeeper. Your microbes help make it. They do this by metabolizing tryptophan, an amino acid found in food. Tryptophan is the seed. Bacteria are the gardeners. Serotonin is the flower. And the more diverse your microbial garden, the richer this flowering can be. But serotonin is just one blossom. There's also dopamine, linked to reward, motivation, pleasure. When you feel satisfied after solving a puzzle, after a delicious bite, after a warm conversation, dopamine may be part of that golden glow. Some microbes, like certain strains of bacillus, can influence dopamine production, not directly, but through a series of metabolic nudges and chemical whispers. They help your body build the precursors, basic materials needed for dopamine's creation. Then there's GABA-gamma-aminobutyric acid. It's less famous, but just as crucial. GABA is your brain's brake pedal. It slows things down, soothes excitement, quiets storms, brings stillness. Low GABA levels have been linked to anxiety, insomnia, even panic. But here's the beautiful part. Certain microbes, like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, can produce GABA directly. Not to suggest it, not hint at it, make it. Which means when your belly is well fed, when your microbial friends are nourished and diverse, they may brew calm into your bloodstream, and they send these molecules along familiar roads through the bloodstream. Yes, but also up the vagus nerve, that golden thread you met before. The gut sends signals. The brain listens. And you feel, of course. This isn't simple. Science is cautious. There are layers, variables, unknowns. Microbial effects on mood are not the only story. They are part of a grander chorus. Genes, trauma, sleep, light, level play a role. But the gut is no longer silent in that chorus. It sings. And sometimes its notes are louder than the rest. There have been studies, gentle, early, promising. Mice raised in sterile environments with no gut bacteria display altered behavior, less anxiety, more risk-taking. When given a normal microbiome, their behavior shifts. When mice are given probiotic strains that produce GABA, they show reduced stress behavior. Even human studies hint at something real. People taking certain probiotics report better mood, less anxiety, deeper sleep. This new field has a name: psychobiotics. It explores how microbes may influence the mind. Imagine that, a yogurt as medicine for sorrow, a fiber-rich meal as scaffolding for peace. It doesn't mean food is a cure, but it means food and the microbes it feeds are part of the cure, because microbes don't just live in you. They communicate with you. In mood, it turns out, may be a conversation. You're already familiar with this, even if you've never named it. Think of how different you feel after a heavy meal versus a light one, after a week of junk versus a week of whole grains. Your thoughts aren't always yours. Sometimes they're responses to sugar, to fiber, to alcohol, to bacterial metabolites you've never heard of. You're not being controlled. You're being influenced. And the more you learn to listen, the more you begin to recognize the voices. Fiber, for instance, feeds bacteria that make butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid with anti-inflammatory effects. Butyrate helps maintain the blood-brain barrier, reduces neuroinflammation, and supports neurotransmitter balance. It's not poetic, it's chemical, and it's happening inside you right now. You feel tension in your shoulders. You blame your job, your phone, your to-do list, and maybe you're right. But maybe your microbes are tense too. Maybe they're inflamed, starved, stressed by antibiotics, or lack of sleep, or low diversity. And maybe, just maybe, your sadness is partly theirs. This is not about blame. This is about compassion for your belly, for the tiny community inside you, and for yourself. Because if your mood is partly microbial, then healing doesn't begin with judgment. It begins with feeding. Feed the ones who brew serotonin. Feed the ones who whisper.com. Feed the ones who remember joy. They don't need much. Fiber, ferments, a little rest, a little rhythm, and time. Microbes shift slowly. They need consistency. They don't like chaos. They like ritual. A warm breakfast at the same time each morning. A walk after dinner. Sleep before midnight. Laughter in the afternoon. These aren't self-help tips. They are microbial care. And as your microbes settle, your brain may settle too. You may find that joy comes more easily, that sleep deepens, that your thoughts quieten, not because you forced them, but because your inner chemists were finally given what they need. The gut isn't just a system. It's a workshop, a brewery, a garden, and when it flourishes, so can you. So tonight, as you rest, know that the calm you feel is not just imagined. It may be molecular, bacterial, real. And as you drift, let your belly soften, because in the next chapter, you'll return to where all this began, not with molecules, but with milk, with breath, with the very first bacteria that ever called you home. You arrive in a world without a name, no memories, no stories, no microbes, just soft skin, coiled limbs, and a heartbeat that has never been alone. In that first moment between the hush of the womb and the air of earth, you are, for a brief instant, sterile. No bacteria line your skin. No fungi tuck into the corners of your mouth. No ancient microbes swirl through your intestines. And then you take a breath. You open your mouth. You're held, kissed, wrapped, and fed, and the invasion begins. But this invasion is sacred. This is not war. This is colonization by care from your mother's skin, from her milk, from her kisses. Millions of tiny organisms move in. They do not ask. They do not knock, but they do not harm. They begin building something that will become you. By the end of your first day, your skin is covered. Your gut, once empty, now stirs with microbial murmurs. Your mouth becomes home to 100 species. Your body is no longer yours alone. You are now a host. But not in the way science once feared. You are gardenally planted. And every microbe is a seed. In the first few days, breast milk becomes your world. Not just nourishment, instruction. It contains more than fat and sugar. Contains prebiotics, complex sugars humans can't digest, but which bacteria thrive upon. It's as if your mother is feeding two lives, the child she sees, and the invisible forest blooming inside you. These sugars guide which microbes grow. They favor some, discourage others, especially one, Bifidobacterium longum infantis, a microbe finely tuned to digest milk sugars. It multiplies rapidly in your gut and begins to shape your entire immune system, because your immune system is naive at birth. It cannot yet tell friend from foe. But microbes teach it. They train your cells to tolerate what is safe and fight what is dangerous. Without them, your immune system overreacts. You become allergic, inflamed, anxious. With them, you develop balance. Your early microbiome is delicate. Cesarean birth, antibiotics, formula feeding. They don't destroy it, but they change the map. Different microbes arrive. Different paths are drawn. And sometimes, those paths lead to different moods, different vulnerabilities, even different futures. But the story is never fixed, because the microbial mind you begin with keeps evolving. Every hand that holds you adds a signature. Every breath you take carries spores. Every toy, every blanket, every nap on your father's chest, layers of life press into your body. The dog licks your face. You crawl through dirt. You chew a sock. And with every moment, your internal city grows by your first birthday. You have more microbial genes in you than stars in the known universe. And this city is not quiet. It hums, it digests, it defends, it builds vitamins, modulates hormones. It communicates with your developing brain. And this is the part science once ignored, but now leans toward with wonder that perhaps your first moods, your earliest cries, your first feelings of safety or unease were not only shaped by warmth or sound or sight, but also by what bloomed in your gut. Researchers now see links between microbial diversity in infancy and later temperament. Babies with richer microbiomes often show less reactivity, fewer mood swings, calmer transitions. It's not definitive, not absolute. What the patterns are enough to ask, what if the beginnings of emotional resilience start not in the brain, but in the belly? Your microbes shape how your immune system responds to stress. And stress, even in babies, is real. Separation, loud noise, hunger. Each one lights up your system. If your microbes are healthy, they help dampen the alarm. They soothe inflammation. They tell your body you are safe. But if your microbes are disrupted from antibiotics, or lack of diversity, or inflammation, that message is weaker. The stress lingers, and you begin learning the world through a lens of fear. And so, the microbial mind may be the first mirror showing your brain how to feel, long before you understand the word feel. It's easy to forget this as an adult, to believe you are a singular being, independent, whole, but you are composite, a colony, a walking ecosystem whose boundaries are always blurring. And it began before you spoke, before you remembered, before you even opened your eyes. There is also another truth tender and humbling. The microbial mind is not inherited like a name. It is given, kinted by the world, handed to you through touch, through food, through love. And so, the health of your microbiome is not just biological, it is social. Babies raised in stress, in sterile environments, in isolation or instability, they may miss microbial handshakes that soothe and stabilize. Their bacteria learn urgency, pass it on in molecules. But this is not destiny, because while your microbial city begins at birth, it is never finished. You carried the power to replant it. Every bite of fermented food, every walk in fresh air, every moment of calm offers your microbes a new story. And so, your mind reshapes quietly, gradually, biologically. You are not bound by your beginning. You are not limited by what first lived in you. You were still growing, still rewriting, still fermenting a better emotional future. Even now, as you lie here, your microbes are awake, processing your last meal, whispering signals up your vagus nerve, tuning the chemistry of your dreams. They do not sleep, cause they are part of the reason you can tussle, soften, let your belly rise gently with breath. Feel the warmth of your skin, the rhythm of your heart. These are not just human sensations, okay? They are collaborations. And as you drift off, know that your next thought, your next smile, your next calm morning may already be in the making. Because next, we'll explore how food becomes filling, how your choices feed not just your body, but the emotions that follow. A meal is never just a meal. It is an offering, and your inner world is always listening. The first bite is always more than flavor. You may think of taste, sweet, salty, sharp, or texture, crisp, warm, creamy. But long before your brain interprets flavor, your gut has already begun its quiet work. You swallow, and the food disappears from view, but it does not vanish. It enters a world teeming with life, a dark, moist landscape of folds and tunnels, lined not just with cells, but with collaborators. Your microbiome stirs. A piece of bread, a spoonful of yogurt, a sip of coffee. Each one is met by trillions of invisible mouths, each one tuned to a different ingredient. The microbes do not simply break food down, they transform it. Fiber becomes fuel, sugar becomes signal, proteins become language, and fats can become either peace or alarm. You eat, and they decide what to do with it. They chew it for you, in a way. They send messages upward, chemical phrases carried by blood, or whispered into the vagus nerve that connects belly to brain. And those messages don't just say, "It's full" or "hungry." They say, "calm," "alert," "comforted," "anxious," because food is more than sustenance. It is chemistry. And chemistry shapes emotion. Let's begin with fiber. Your body cannot digest it, not on its own. But your microbes can. They ferment it in the dark quiet of your large intestine. Fiber becomes short-chain fatty acids, especially one called butyrate. Butyrate does many things. It nourishes the lining of your gut. It reduces inflammation. It may even cross the blood-brain barrier. When it does, it seems to have a calming effect. Not sedative, just soothing. Like a warm hand on the shoulder of your nervous system. So when you eat beans, oats, leafy greens, your microbes get to work, and in return, they brew a biochemical sense of ease. Now consider sugar. Simple, refined. Sugar is absorbed quickly, often before microbes get much of a say. But when they do encounter excess sugar, they sometimes shift in population. Certain microbes thrive, but not always the helpful ones. Too much sugar can encourage bacteria that stir inflammation. The low-level fire beneath anxiety, depression, and fatigue. You might feel wired, then tired, elated, then empty. It's not just a sugar crash. It's a microbial imbalance. Even your cravings can be microbial. Some species seem to nudge your brain toward more of what they like. Candida, for example, may favor sugar. Other species may favor fat or starch. They don't control you, exactly, but they can influence the volume of desire, that sudden, irrational hunger, that emotional pull toward chocolate or chips. Sometimes it comes not from your needs, but from theirs. And then there is fermented food: yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, kefir. These are foods already alive, already rich with microbes. When you eat them, you're inviting new life into your ecosystem. And these newcomers don't arrive quietly. They often carry molecules that influence your neurotransmitters: serotonin, dopamine, GABA. In animal studies, certain probiotic strains have shown effects similar to anti-anxiety medications in humans. The results are more subtle but compelling. Some people feel calmer, more grounded, more emotionally stable. It's as if fermented food carries a tuning fork for your nervous system. But even without fermentation, food sends emotional messages. Consider the warm calm of a bowl of soup, the pleasure of crunch, the nostalgia stirred by cinnamon or lemon. These sensations are sensory, yes, but they are also biochemical. They activate parts of the brain tied to memory, reward, identity, safety, and your microbes are there too, processing each bite, responding to each nutrient, adding their own molecules into the stream. Even fats tell a story. Omega-3 South, the kind in walnuts, flax, salmon, are precursors for anti-inflammatory messengers in the brain. They help build cell membranes. They influence mood-regulating pathways. They may reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety. Your microbes help metabolize these fats, and in doing so, become allies in mental balance. But not all fats are equal. Trans fats and excess saturated fats can stoke inflammation. They may alter microbial communities in harmful ways. They are not poison, but in excess, they shift the tone of your inner dialogue away from calm. So you see, food is not a one-way street. It's a conversation. What you eat shapes what your microbes do. What your microbes do shapes how you feel. How you feel shapes what you crave. It is not a chain. It is a loop. And this loop is ancient, long before you knew the names of vitamins or calories. Your ancestors evolved with food as both medicine and mood. Spices were not just flavor. They were antimicrobial. Fermented grains and roots soothed digestion and mind. Bitter herbs signaled the end of a meal, the return to balance. These traditions held wisdom that modern science is only beginning to name, and that wisdom lives on in your body. Sometimes the gut knows before your mind does. A certain food makes you feel clearer. Another leaves you restless. You may not know why, but your microbes do. So you listen, you adapt, you experiment. You learn the subtle language of nourishment. And over time, you shape your internal ecosystem into something that supports your emotional architecture. This is not about perfection, not about rules, not about rigid diets or miracle fixes. It's about noticing. How do you feel after breakfast, after coffee, after skipping a meal? What foods leave your mind open? What foods leave it closed? There are no universal answers, only patterns, clues, whispers, because your microbes are unique. Your chemistry is your own, and your relationship to food is as personal as a memory, even now. As you lie here, your last meal is still speaking, a slow symphony of breakdown and absorption, a gentle ripple of molecules rising through your blood, messages already reaching your brain. Perhaps they are saying, you are safe. Perhaps they are weaving the chemicals of dreams. Perhaps they are storing away quiet joy for tomorrow's mood. Food does not end in the stomach. Its journey continues through microbes, through neurons, through the very fabric of thought. And in the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when this journey falters, when the gut becomes inflamed, the body's chemistry of calm begins to sway. Because the gut doesn't only build feelings sometimes, it mirrors pain, and the first tremor of sadness might not start in the heart or the head, but in the belly. The belly. There are days when your belly feels like a fogged mirror, full but not satisfied, tight but not solid. Something stirs inside, a gurgle, a flutter, a weight. You may call it indigestion or bloating or unease. But beneath those names, your gut is whispering something deeper. It's not just food that causes the change. It's not just hunger or fullness. Sometimes your gut is unwell, and when it is, you are too. We like to separate things: mind, body, brain, belly. But the lines blur quickly, quietly, constantly, when the gut becomes inflamed. It doesn't just ache. It doesn't just swell. Hey, it sends signals far beyond its borders. Tiny molecular messages slip into your bloodstream, hurt your brain, and begin to shift the mood within you. You might feel tired for no reason, irritable, restless, foggy. You might not feel like yourself, and still, you may not suspect your gut, but that's where it begins. Let's step inside for a moment, into the lining of your gut. It's 1 cell thick. It's a barrier, a gatekeeper. It chooses what may pass into your bloodstream and what must stay out. But when the gut becomes inflamed, this barrier weakens. Small cracks appear. Tight junctions loosen. And things that should remain inside, fragments of food, bacterial byproducts, immune triggers, leak through. This is sometimes called leaky gut, though the term is more poetic than precise. What matters is the result. Your immune system sees the intruders. It responds. It floods your body with inflammatory molecules like cytokines and histamines. Its way of saying, intruder detected, prepare for battle. But this is no quick fight. This is a slow simmer, a persistent hum of alarm, and your brain hears it, because these inflammatory molecules don't stay in the gut. They cross the blood-brain barrier. They interact with mood-regulating regions of the brain, the limbic system, the prefrontal cortex. They influence the levels of serotonin and dopamine. They shift the brain's balance toward vigilance, away from peace. You may feel more anxious, more reactive, more prone to sadness. You might not even know why, but it could be your gut burning quietly, whispering through chemistry. Now, picture this happening day after day. You eat something your body doesn't handle well. Perhaps gluten, perhaps dairy, perhaps a processed additive, or a food you've never truly digested easily. Or maybe stress. Yes, stress alone has begun to shift your gut microbes. They lose diversity. The helpful ones fade. The inflammatory ones bloom. Your gut lining becomes more fragile. Your immune system becomes more alert, and the cycle continues. Inflammation rises. Mood falls. This doesn't mean your thoughts aren't real. They are, but they may be colored by molecules, painted over by silent responses. Inside your belly, modern research is beginning to connect these dots in people with depression. Inflammation markers are often elevated, gut health often impaired, certain microbial species diminished or absent. It's not a one-to-one cause. There's no single microbe of sadness. It's no bacteria that causes despair. But there is a pattern, and in this pattern, inflammation and emotion intertwine. When your gut is inflamed, your brain becomes more sensitive to stress. Your emotional resilience may falter. Small things feel heavier. Big things feel impossible. You may feel as if you're trapped in a fog without realizing it began in your belly. There are physical signs to gas, cramping, loose stools, or constipation, reflux, even skin issues, rashes, acne, eczema, because inflammation doesn't stay where it starts. It travels. Your skin, like your brain, listens closely to your gut. So does your immune system. Over time, if the gut remains inflamed, autoimmune issues may arise, the body mistakenly attacking itself, confusing self for invader. Conditions like celiac disease, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, even some thyroid disorders, all have ties to gut inflammation. But long before diagnosis, there are whispers, and sometimes those whispers sound like sadness. The good news, the quiet hope, is that the gut is also resilient. Your microbiome is always shifting. Your lining is always repairing. Your immune system is always learning. Given the right conditions, balance can return, not quickly, not easily, softly. It begins with gentle curiosity. What foods make you feel heavy afterward? Which meals leave your mind calmer? How does your body respond to sugar, caffeine, processed oils? You begin to notice. You begin to shift. You add fermented foods. Slowly, you increase fiber. Carefully, you reduce triggers. Kindly, you may try elimination, but not forever. Just to find clarity, to listen. You find movement that suits you. Walking, stretching, dancing. Exercise helps reduce gut inflammation. It encourages microbial diversity. It supports the gentle repair of your inner lining. Don't, and perhaps most importantly, you find ways to reduce stress, because stress alone can inflame the gut when your nervous system is in fight or flight. Digestion slows, blood moves away from the belly, microbial communities shift toward urgency. Stress changes not just how you feel, but how you digest, and how you digest changes how you feel. So you breathe deeply, you rest, you sleep, okay? You allow your gut to return to safe mode. You give it time. You trust that healing is not linear. There will be days of discomfort, but over weeks and months, your microbes begin to bloom again. Your lining tightens. Your inflammation softens. Your mood lifts, not by force, but by foundation. This is the slow repair of the emotional body. It doesn't happen in therapy alone, or with medication alone, or with diet alone. It happens when all of you, gut, brain, heart, are invited to the table. Even now, as you lie still, perhaps your belly feels a little quieter. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it never has been. But within you, the work continues. Cells replacing cells. Microbes trading signals. The tissues mending. Feelings beginning to float free again. You're always remaking your inner world. And next, we'll see how stress itself shapes that world. How the microbes inside you shift when your outer world becomes sharp and demanding. Because anxiety isn't just a feeling, it's a reaction. And sometimes begins in the gut. There's a moment. Maybe it happened to you today. A tense message, a sudden noise, an overwhelming thought that wouldn't leave. Can't, before your mind even catches it fully. Your stomach tightens. a pit forms, deep and quiet. Like the earth beneath, you shifted a little, as if your belly had a thought before your brain. This is not your imagination. It's not just a figure of speech. Stress does not live only in your head. It echoes through your entire body, especially in the quiet, microbial cities that line the walls of your gut. And when you are afraid, Tano, your gut is lined with the warm, undulating terrain, intestinal folds, and microbial roads. Trillions of bacteria make their homes there, living off the food you feed them, dancing in balance, talking in molecules. Each species has its own voice. Some calm inflammation. Some produce neurotransmitters. Some keep invaders away. Others thrive only in the shadows of chaos. Most days, a balance is struck, like a forest with predators and prey. Your gut is a functioning ecosystem. But stress is a forest fire. When stress enters through thought or threat, your body shifts, adrenaline rises, cortisol seeps into your bloodstream, your heart beats faster, your breathing SHLLOWS, and down in the gut, your microbial cities begin to shake. Some bacteria shrink in number. Some begin to bloom. Others die off completely. Stress reduces diversity, tilts the scales. It favors certain microbial types, often the ones linked to inflammation, irritation, and even depression. Like a town after a storm, the architecture of your belly changes, okay? And the residents who remain, they send different messages. You may have heard of the gut-brain axis. It's not just a poetic idea. It's a literal connection, a conversation that never stops. The vagus nerve is one part of that conversation. Carries signals both ways, from gut to brain and back again. When your microbes are disturbed, they send signals upward. Chemical messengers, immune signals, neural nudges. You might feel them as worry, as unease, as a fog you can't quite name. You might feel them as the difference between a peaceful morning, okay, and one where your chest feels heavy for no reason at all. Stress can change how your gut moves, slowing digestion or speeding it up too fast. It can alter the thickness of your gut lining, making it more permeable. And when that happens, molecules that should stay inside leak into your bloodstream. Your immune system notices. It responds with inflammation, okay? And the dialogue between gut and brain grows louder, more distressed. Now your body is not just reacting to stress, it's reacting to itself. A loop forms. Stress changes the microbes. Microbes change the chemicals. Chemicals change the mood. And mood, it changes stress again. Think about the last time you were overwhelmed. Did you lose your appetite? Or crave something salty, sugary, comforting? Did your digestion shift quietly without your permission? Your microbes may have had a say. Some microbes thrive on stress-fueled diets. They whisper cravings to your brain, urges for fast fuel, for comfort, for survival foods. Others fade away when fed this way. The ones that favor fiber, that brew serotonin and calm, they go silent. And when they fall quiet, so do the parts of you that feel balanced, settled, resilient. In studies with mice, scientists have found that even transplanting the gut bacteria from a stressed animal into a calm one can change its behavior. The calm mouse begins to act anxious, less adventurous, more afraid of open spaces. Same genes, same body, just a different microbial conversation. Is this proof? Not yet, but it's a sign, a whisper from deep within biology, telling us that perhaps our emotional lives are partly shared, not just between humans, but between human and microbe. In humans, research grows. People with long-term stress often show disrupted microbiomes, lower diversity, higher markers of inflammation. And again, the chicken and egg mystery returns. Did the mood cause the shift? Or did the shift cause the mood? Perhaps both, because the microbiome is not static. It learns, it remembers, it adapts, And so does your stress response. When you meditate, when you breathe deeply, when you go outside and watch the light change, your body listens. Your stress hormones drop. Your gut lining strengthens. Your microbial towns begin to rebuild. New bacteria return. Diversity blooms. The forest begins to heal. And with it, your mood. This isn't magic. It's biology. It's the slow, quiet unfolding of peace from the inside out. Even your relationships matter. Loneliness has been shown to alter the microbiome. Connection, laughter, touch, they restore it. There is no divide between mental and physical when it comes to stress. Your microbes feel your tension, and perhaps they respond in kind, but maybe they also feel your calm. Maybe they respond to your gratitude, your stillness, your care. Maybe healing doesn't just begin in the mind. Maybe it begins in the belly, in a place older than thought, gentler than language. As you lie down now, feel the center of your body, not the thoughts in your head, but the space behind your navel. Imagine the millions of lives tending your inner world, working even as you rest, trying as you are to find balance. Breathe slowly. You're feeding more than just your lungs. You're calming an entire symphony, one that just hours ago may have been tangled in knots. Now, it begins to loosen. And what does this mean for who you are? If your stress is felt in your belly, if your microbes whisper emotion, then perhaps the self is wider than you thought. Perhaps you are not just a brain in a body. Perhaps you are a garden, and every garden needs a little sunlight, a little care, a little stillness after the storm. Even a garden that lives inside you. There's a quiet hunger, but it's not always your hunger. It's the hunger of a crowd. Trillions of lives that depend on what you choose to eat. They don't have mouths, but they signal. They don't have brains, but they speak. And sometimes they ask not for more food, but for different food. Because what you feed them shapes what they become. And what they become shapes how you feel in this world inside you. This microscopic city humming beneath your ribs. There are guests waiting to be fed, and they, in return, might calm your storms. Let's start with two quiet heroes, probiotics and prebiotics. Their names sound like siblings, and in a way, they are. Probiotics are the live ones, carrier you invite in deliberately, kindly, with every bite. They are the wanderers who bring good news, the seeds of a more balanced tomorrow. Yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, tempeh, even a well-aged cheese or a bite of sourdough bread. These are the vessels. Each mouthful is a caravan, a quiet procession of living microbes making their way down your digestive tract, seeking a home. But most don't make it. Stomach acid is strong. The journey is harsh. Many bacteria die before they ever reach the colon, but some survive, and even those who don't can still whisper to your immune system as they pass. They don't always stay. Some visit, make a difference, then fade. Others find niches, settle, multiply, joining your inner chorus. They don't rewrite your microbiome overnight. They don't flip a switch, but they nudge, they suggest, they influence, they offer an alternative. Mood, a biological what-if to a system locked in old rhythms. Prebiotics, on the other hand, are not alive. They are the food. They are the fibers your body cannot digest, but your microbes can. They are found in roots, in skins, in grains, onions, garlic, asparagus, bananas, oats, leeks, chicory root, Jerusalem artichoke, apples, beans. To you they're roughage. To your microbes, they're a banquet. And when well fed, the right bacteria grow. They outcompete the troublemakers. They ferment these fibers into short-chain fatty acids, molecules that reduce inflammation, nourish your gut lining, and even signal peace to your brain. You might not feel it instantly, but over days, weeks, a month, The shift begins, not a dramatic mood swing, not an artificial high, but a quieting, a little more resilience, a little less fog, a sense that your mind isn't fighting your body because your body feels well fed, not just in the stomach, but in the soul. Scientists are still learning. The research is young and full of questions, but patterns are beginning to form. In one study, people who ate fermented foods for 10 weeks showed lower inflammation and more diverse microbiomes. In another, those who ate high prebiotic diets showed lower levels of stress hormones and better sleep. In animals, the results are even more dramatic. Introduce a single strain of probiotic, watch anxiety drop, watch exploration rise, inflammation fall like a quiet tide. Again, this is not magic. It's ecology. It's gardening. You're not treating symptoms. You're tending the soil. Not all probiotics are the same. Each strain does something slightly different. Some are better at calming inflammation. Some support the gut lining. Some boost serotonin. Others help regulate appetite or blood sugar. And some we barely understand yet. But what matters more than the perfect capsule is the pattern of care, diversity, consistency, curiosity. Just like in a garden, a single plant doesn't make a forest, but a mix, growing together, feeding one another. That's where resilience blooms. Sometimes people ask, should I take a probiotic pill? And the answer depends. Sometimes yes, especially after antibiotics, during periods of stress, or with gut disorders. But often, the best place to start is the plate. Not a supplement, but a lifestyle. Not a fix, but a habit of gentle feeding. Because probiotics don't work alone. They need the right environment. And prebiotics, their food, is what makes their survival possible. It's not enough to plant seeds. You must water them. The modern diet, for many, is a desert. Refined sugars, processed flours, emulsifiers, additives. These don't feed the good bacteria, They favor the ones that stir inflammation, that amplify stress, that make mood swings feel deeper. They tip the balance toward a storm. But the shift back doesn't require perfection. Just kindness, one fermented bite, one handful of fiber, one cup of kefir on a quiet morning before the rest of the world begins. That's how peace is. Built not in leaps, but in layers. You might feel skeptical. Can mood really be shaped by what's inside a jar of pickled cabbage? But think about how fragile mood is. A poor night's sleep, a single harsh word, missed meal. If these can shift your emotions, why not your inner world? Why not the balance of 1,000 invisible voices calling up to your brain? We are well. All is calm. Go ahead and rest. There's something ancient here too. Before refrigeration, before preservatives, humans fermented. We fermented because we had to, because food spoiled and fermentation preserved it. But maybe something else happened. Maybe the cultures we grew became part of our culture. Maybe the sour ting of yogurt is not just food, but an inheritance. A conversation with the past, a way to remember how to live close to the earth and the self. Tonight, as you lie still, think about what you fed today. Not just your hunger, but your garden. Did you feed peace? Did you invite calm? Even if you didn't, you can begin tomorrow. 1 bite of kimchi, a little garlic in your soup, sprinkle of oats. Walk in the sun. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to listen and offer something small. Your microbes are listening back. And so we arrive at another question. If these tiny lives can shape how you feel, what happens when they're suddenly taken away? In the next chapter, we step into the world of antibiotics, the lifesavers that sometimes forget who else lives in you. You live in a world that was changed by a mold in 1928. Alexander Fleming walked into his lab and found a petri dish where bacteria had vanished. In their place, a bloom of Penicillium notatum, a common mold, quietly releasing a chemical that killed off microbes like a whispering storm. That chemical became penicillin, and penicillin became a promise that infection could be stopped. Okay? That disease was not always a death sentence, that a scratch on your skin didn't have to become a grave. Antibiotics changed the world, and they still do. They are miracles. But, like all miracles, they carry a shadow, because antibiotics do not see nuance. They do not ask which bacteria help and which harm. They cleared the field, all of it. The invaders, defenders, the peaceful dwellers who meant no harm. And when the field is empty, your body doesn't always feel relieved. Sometimes it feels hollow. Imagine a rainforest, rich, tangled, alive. Now, set it on fire. Even if you replant it later, it will never return quite the same. That is your gut after a course of antibiotics. One pill, and within days, populations collapse. Species vanish. Balance breaks. It can take weeks, even months, for the diversity to return, if it returns at all. And in the meantime, something else shifts. You feel it in your digestion, yes, but also in your mood, because when the messengers disappear, so do their messages. In recent years, scientists began to notice a pattern. Patients taking antibiotics sometimes felt foggy. Not ill, not allergic, but not quite themselves. Children cried more. Adults grew anxious. Sleep patterns changed. Was it coincidence? Or were the gut's messengers gone silent? Your microbes produce neurotransmitters, chemicals like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. They help regulate emotion, focus, calm, sleep. When these microbes vanish, so do some of those soothing chemicals, and your brain feels it. Even your immune system responds, because when gut bacteria vanish, inflammation can rise. Inflammation in the brain doesn't always feel like heat. Sometimes it feels like sadness. Sometimes like irritation. Sometimes like forgetting where you put your peace. None of this means antibiotics are bad. They save lives. They are necessary, but they are also powerful, and power deserves awareness. They are not like turning off a light. They are more like flattening a meadow to put out one fire. And when the fire's gone, you must decide how to help the meadow regrow. Doctors are beginning to ask new questions. Can we target antibiotics more precisely? Can we pair them with protective probiotics? Can we monitor the microbial recovery as carefully as we monitor the infection? Some hospitals now prescribe probiotics alongside antibiotics, not as a cure, but as a cushion, to soften the impact, to preserve the peace. Some studies show that doing so can reduce gastrointestinal side effects, and perhaps preserve emotional balance, too. You might wonder, how do you know if your mind is being shaped by a medicine meant for your gut? Not always clear. The signs are subtle. You may notice more mood swings, or sleep that no longer feels restful, or a sense of disconnection, not just from others, but from your own calm. It may pass, or it may linger, quietly asking for repair. And so you return to the garden after antibiotics. Your gut needs gentle tending, not a flood of supplements, but a pattern of support. Gives fermented foods, gives soluble fiber, gives plenty of hydration, gives movement, gives time. You don't rush a forest back into being. You water it, you protect it, you wait, and you notice. In some studies, even a single round of antibiotics reduced microbial diversity for 6 months. Other times, the loss was permanent. Not in total, but in species. A few tiny lives gone, okay? A few quiet voices missing from the choir. You may not notice at first, but your body remembers, and your mind, which is made of your body, hears the silence. There is something fragile about this balance, but also something beautiful, because it reminds you that you are not separate parts. Quote, one interwoven system. Your brain is not a computer plugged into a stomach. It is a garden growing roots into the soil of your belly. When the soil is disturbed, the tree feels it. The fruit changes, the branches sway, and you are the wind moving through all of it. There's something else too. The overuse of antibiotics has created resistant bacteria, superbugs, immune to the very medicine we made. And so, even at the global level, we're learning to be more gentle, more precise, more mindful. Preserve the good, target the harmful, and always heal what we disturb. This chapter isn't about fear. It's about awareness and care. It's about knowing that when you take something powerful, you must also offer something kind, even if that kindness is a spoonful of yogurt, a warm bowl of lentils, a slow walk in the morning, a return to rhythm. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, know that your inner world is always listening, even when medicine silences some of its voices. The others adapt, rebuild, find new ways. To sing, you are never truly empty, okay? You are never beyond balance. Even a damaged garden can bloom again, and tomorrow explore something deeper still. What happens in the gut when sadness takes root in the mind? Not from medicine, but from life. Depression that echoes in microbes, and a hope that starts with understanding. Sadness doesn't arrive like thunder. It drips quietly, slowly, like mist gathering on glass. And sometimes it's not even yours. Not entirely. It's not only because deep within your gut, there are voices you've never heard, but that whisper. Anyway, they don't speak in words. They speak in signals, in chemistry, in balance, in imbalance. And when that balance shifts, your emotions may shift too. For decades, depression was understood as a purely mental phenomenon, a storm inside the brain, a chemical misfire, an invisible weight pressing down on thought. But the story is changing now. More and more scientists are peering beyond the skull, down into the belly, and what they're finding is a connection deeper than we ever imagined. Your gut is home to trillions of microbes. They digest your food, yes, but they also brew compounds. They send messages up the vagus nerve. They talk to your immune system. They shape your sleep, and increasingly, they seem to shape your mood in one study. Researchers found that people diagnosed with major depressive disorder shared microbial patterns. Certain beneficial bacteria were missing. Others were overgrown. Not just random microbes, but species known to produce neurotransmitters like serotonin, and short-chain fatty acids that reduce inflammation in the brain. When these voices fall quiet, the mind may feel the loss, like a city where streetlights flicker out, like a symphony where the violins go silent. But correlation is not causation. The scientists are careful to say this. We don't yet know if the microbial shift causes the depression, or if depression reshapes the microbiome. It could be both. A feedback loop, a spiral. You feel down, so you eat differently, you move less, you sleep less. Your gut changes, sends out different signals. Those signals deepen your sadness. And so it continues, like ripples feeding into each other until the whole pond shivers. Animal studies give us even more clues. When gut microbes from depressed humans were transplanted into germ-free mice, those mice began to show signs of anxiety and despair. They moved less, explored less, roamed obsessively, froze in the face of novelty. The bacteria didn't just live in the mice. They lived through them. It was as if emotional states could be carried across species lines on the backs of microbes. Of course, mice are not people, but the implications are powerful to suggest that mood is not locked in your mind. It flows through gut, through blood, through nerve, through the forest inside you. Inflammation is another clue. Many people with depression show elevated markers of inflammation in their blood and sometimes in their brain. Where does this inflammation come from? Sometimes from stress, sometimes from diet, sometimes from chronic illness, but also times from the gut. When the gut barrier weakens, bacterial byproducts can leak into the bloodstream. It's called leaky gut by some, though the term is controversial. The idea is real, and when the body detects these intruders, it responds with inflammation, a flame not just in the belly, but in the brain. This inflammation can dull neurotransmitters. It can suppress neurogenesis, the birth of new brain cells. It can fog thought, disrupt sleep, blunt emotion, all hallmarks of depression. So perhaps sadness is not only a thought, or a memory, or a grief. Perhaps it is also a signal from a system trying to find balance again. What, then, can be done? There is no single answer. No one-size-fits-all probiotic. No magic yogurt. But there is growing evidence that supporting the gut can support the mind. Diets rich in fiber, in fermented foods, in polyphenols, these have shown promise. The Mediterranean diet, for instance, rich in whole grains, olive oil, legumes, and leafy greens, has been associated with lower rates of depression. In one study, people with moderate depression were placed on a Mediterranean-style diet for 12 weeks. A third of them went into remission. Another group, who received only social support, saw improvement too, but not as much. The food mattered. The gut mattered. Even simple changes help. Gives a handful of berries. Gives a cup of kefir. Gives swapping white bread for rye. Gives a few more minutes walking under trees. Each one is a note in the melody. Each one a small tilt back toward equilibrium. Still, depression is complex. It is not cured by kale. It is not erased by kombucha. But understanding the role of the gut adds a tool to the toolkit, a path to explore, a softness to offer yourself, because sometimes when your thoughts feel heavy, your gut may be asking for help too. Not blame, just support. Some psychiatrists now work with nutritionists. Some therapists now ask about digestion. The walls between systems are crumbling gently. What once seemed separate is now understood as one living web. Your sadness is not just in your head. Your healing is not just in your thoughts. It is in your meals, in your sleep, tains, in your breath, in your microbes. In Japan, some researchers use fermented rice bran to support emotional resilience. In Europe, strains of bacteria like Lactobacillus, Helopicus, and Bifidobacterium, longum, are being tested for their calming effects. The field is new. The data is young. But the story is ancient, because even before we had names for bacteria, our ancestors fed them with pickles and broth and slow-cooked roots, with meals that fermented naturally on stone or in clay, with life that flowed through the land and into the body and back again. You are part of that story. When you feel low, remember that your sadness may have more than one voice. One in your thoughts, one in your cells, one in your belly, and they are all trying to be heard. You are not broken. You are a garden seeking balance, and even the most neglected soil can bloom again with care. Sleep begins long before your eyes close. It begins in the light that fades, in the stomach that settles, in the quiet rearrangement of your body's tides. And among those tides, there is one you do not often think of, the tide of your microbes. They, too, have rhythms. They, too, sense dusk. They, too, shift as the world goes dark. Inside your gut is a landscape of motion, but it isn't constant. Some bacteria thrive during the day, processing sugars, helping with the energetic hum of life. Others awaken at night when the body turns inward and the rhythm slows. It's a microbial shift change as ancient as life itself. You may be asleep, but they are still working. You carry not just one circadian rhythm, but many. Your brain has a master clock, a cluster of neurons in the hypothalamus that responds to light. But your organs, your heart, your liver, your intestines, they keep time too. They follow cues from food, temperature, and hormones. in the microbes inside you. They keep a kind of time as well, not with watches, but with the cycles of growth, metabolism, and activity that follow the sun. In your habits, in studies on mice, scientists observed a fascinating pattern. Gut microbes changed in number and type depending on the time of day. Certain bacteria peaked during sleep. Others bloomed with food when the mice lost sleep. The microbial balance shifted and inflammation crept in when their eating times were disrupted. The microbiome shifted again. Sleep, food, light, microbes, all dancing in a quiet circle. You've likely felt it too. A poor night of sleep, and the next day, your digestion is off. You're bloated, irritable, unsettled. The microbes noticed your insomnia, and they responded. It works both ways. Your microbes, in turn, can't affect your sleep. They help produce serotonin, a neurotransmitter that, by nightfall, is converted into melatonin, the hormone that whispers sleep to your brain. A healthy gut means a steady flow of this transformation, quiet dusk inside your body, even as night falls outside. But if your microbiome is imbalanced, that serotonin stream may falter. Melatonin levels may dip. Sleep may feel just out of reach. In one study, when participants consumed fermented foods or specific probiotics, they reported deeper, more restful sleep. Another study found that people with insomnia often had lower microbial diversity in their gut. Not fewer microbes necessarily, but fewer types. Imagine a forest with only one kind of tree, a choir with only one note. The music is weaker. The harmony gone. Melatonin itself isn't just produced in your brain. In fact, most of it, nearly 90%, is produced in your gut. Yes, your intestines are quietly glowing with sleep-inducing signals, even when you're fully awake. Melatonin in the gut helps regulate digestion, calm the smooth muscle walls, reduce inflammation, and perhaps send signals upward that say, it's time to rest. It's a dialogue, not a monologue. The brain speaks to the gut. The gut answers back. They co-authored the script of your night. Some scientists now call this the gut-brain-sleep axis. It's not just about digestion. It's not just about dreaming. It's about how your inner ecology navigates the turning of the earth. And what of dreams? This is where science softens. Not because the facts vanish, but because the questions become more poetic. We don't yet know if microbes see your dreams, but we do know that they feel your rest. We know that stress, especially chronic stress, can harm microbial balance. We know that poor sleep does the same, and we know that both affect the clarity and content of your dreams. Perhaps when you dream of running or falling or flying, your microbes feel it too, in shifts of hormones, in pulses of blood, in subtle electrical storms. Perhaps they do not dream with you. Till they do ride the waves, your sleep is not a shutdown. It is an orchestration. Cells repair, tissues cleanse, memories sort themselves, neurotransmitters balance. In the gut, in its microbial quiet, either helps or hinders. Insomnia, for many, isn't just in the mind. It's in the belly, inflammation, dysbiosis, late night sugar, too much alcohol, too little fiber. These choices echo through your microbiome and then back up into your rest. Sometimes insomnia is a voice saying, I'm not well in here. But here's the beautiful thing. You can feed sleep. You can eat in rhythm early dinners, gentle spices, slow chewing. You can choose fiber over fast food, warm broth over cold sugar. You can move your body during the day and still your breath at night, and slowly, your microbes adjust, the tides shift, melatonin flows, and sleep returns. Even your dreams may grow deeper. There are studies linking microbiome diversity to more vivid dreams. 2. Fewer nightmares. 2. Greater emotional regulation upon waking. The science is young, but the intuition is ancient. when your body is in harmony. Your rest becomes a refuge. When your gut is at peace, your mind can wander freely through the night. In one Japanese tradition, people drink a warm fermented rice drink before sleep. Amazake, sweet, light, filled with probiotics. They say it brings calm and dreams without edges. In Eastern Europe, a sip of kefir ends the night. In Korea, kimchi accompanies the evening meal across the world. People have long understood what modern science is only just explaining. To sleep well, feed the peace inside. Your microbes are not just residents. They are co-authors. They help write the lullabies that your body follows into night. When you close your eyes, they do not disappear. They hum, they repair. They hold the threads so your dreaming self does not unravel. And when you awaken, they shift again, welcoming morning light, preparing for the day's digestion, resetting the internal clocks. You are not a machine. You are a moving constellation, and the microbes are stars within it. Let your next sleep be a partnership. Let your breath slow with gratitude. Let your belly feel safe, and maybe your dreams will be a little lighter. Your body is not a solitary dancer. Hey, it moves through space, yes, but it also moves with 1,000 others, each one smaller than the eye can see. Each one shaping your rhythm, each one swaying to the beat of your steps. When you walk, your microbes walk with you. When you run, they run beside you. When you stretch, they stretch. To movement is not just a way to move muscles or burn energy. It is a way to move life inside you, to stir the quiet inhabitants who share your bones and blood. Give them a voice. Exercise changes everything, the way you breathe, the way you think, the way you digest. And now we know it changes your microbiome too. In fact, it seems that when you move, your gut moves in response. You're not just moving your limbs, you're shifting the microbial landscape, shaping it with every stride, every stretch, every lift. Scientists used to think of the gut microbiome as a passive observer, content to live and thrive on its own. But new research is showing that your body and the movement of your body shapes the gut in ways we're only beginning to understand. Your microbes are not just passive passengers. They are active players in the dance of your health. In one study, participants who engaged in regular exercise showed an increase in microbial diversity, the number of different species in their gut. More diversity means more balance, more resilience, and more harmony. It's as if your microbes are stretching too. It's opening their arms to new possibilities, moving freely with the rhythm of your life. When you move, you create a cascade of beneficial effects. Your blood flow increases, sending fresh oxygen to your tissues, including your gut. Your metabolism shifts, speeding up digestion, burning fuel efficiently, and your gut responds. It becomes more active, more balanced, more responsive. But it's not just about aerobic exercise. It's about any form of movement. Stretching, yoga, walking, dancing, even light resistance training. All of these activities can promote the growth of beneficial microbes, and reduce the populations of the harmful ones. When you stretch your body, you stretch your microbiome. When you challenge your muscles, you challenge your gut to keep up. The benefits of movement on the microbiome are far-reaching. A healthier gut means better digestion, but it also means improved mood, better immune function, and more restful sleep. It means your body can communicate with your brain in clearer, more balanced ways. And when your gut is healthy, your mind is more at peace. One study focused on the effects of running and found that the runners had higher levels of beneficial microbes such as bifidobacterium and lactobacillus. These microbes are known for their anti-inflammatory properties, which can reduce the feelings of stress, anxiety, and even depression. It's no coincidence that runners tend to feel calmer, more centered after a good run. It's because the movement of the body has moved their microbes toward balance, toward harmony. And it's not just about the physical exercise itself. The way you feel during and after exercise matters too. When you move in joy, when you dance freely, when you exercise for pleasure rather than obligation, your body is flooded with endorphins, chemicals that reduce pain and stress. They also increase the growth of healthy bacteria in your gut, further tipping the scales toward well-being. Exercise then becomes a celebration, not just for the body, but for the invisible world inside you. Your microbes are not just surviving, they are thriving, dancing with you, supporting you in every breath. Even small movements matter. A walk in the park, a few minutes of stretching before bed, a morning yoga flow. These simple movements, done regularly, send a message to your microbes that their space is important, that their role matters, and that their growth and diversity are worth fostering. In fact, some studies have found that people who are sedentary, who move less often, tend to have lower microbial diversity. The gut becomes more stagnant, and so does the mind. Movement gives life to your body and to the garden inside you. Exercise is also deeply tied to the reduction of inflammation. Chronic inflammation is often at the root of many health issues, from autoimmune disorders to mental health struggles. Movement can reduce inflammation, calming the body and mind, allowing the gut to heal. A more balanced microbiome leads to less inflammation, which leads to greater mental clarity, a reduction in brain fog, and an overall better mood. So the next time you take a deep breath, stretch your arms to the sky, or take a walk outside, know that you are doing more than just moving your body. You are helping your mind find balance too. There is one more fascinating element to movement, and the microbiome. The role of exercise in shaping your gut microbiota over time. Long-term exercise, especially regular, moderate activity, helps set the stage for a diverse and healthy microbiome. As you exercise, the beneficial bacteria in your gut settle in, grow, and adapt. In fact, the longer you commit to movement, the more profound the effects. Exercise can act like a reset button. If your gut is out of balance, if the harmful microbes are dominating, movement offers a chance for those beneficial microbes to regain their footing. It's as if exercise sends a wave through your gut, encouraging the positive bacteria to rise and the harmful ones to fall away. This process doesn't happen overnight, but with each step, each stretch, each deep breath, you move closer to the balance your body longs for. You are not just moving your limbs, you are moving your microbiome. You are shifting your emotional landscape. You are gently guiding yourself back to harmony. Movement is a dance of healing for your body and for your gut. And as your gut thrives, so does your mind. You think of memory as something your mind holds, a soft reel of images, feelings, places. But what if the past isn't only in your brain? What if it lingers inside your body, too, in the smallest residence you carry? Because the truth is, your microbes, remember? They remember what you ate as a child. They remember that month of antibiotics. They remember the seasons when you barely slept, the slow healing after. They don't store memories like you do, not in stories or pictures, but in structure, in balance, in presence. They hold echoes of your choices, and they pass them on to tomorrow. Your microbiome, the vast world of microbes living inside your body, is shaped by time, by repetition, by change. Every day you wake up, still there, millions of them responding to your habits, your food, your stress. Like roots adjusting to the soil, they shift to match your environment, and over time become a quiet record of who you've been. Perhaps you once lived by the ocean, ate more fish, walked every morning before sunrise. Your microbes noticed. Certain strains flourished, salt-loving, omega processing, rhythm-attuned. Then you moved inland, less seafood, more processed food, less walking, more sitting. and the community inside you changed. A few strains weakened, new ones rose. This, too, is memory, not the kind that makes you nostalgic, but the kind that changes your chemistry. They remember grief, not because they feel it, but because your body does. When your world went quiet, when sleep became restless, when appetite vanished, they felt the shifts. Stress sends signals, cortisol rises, inflammation whispers louder, and your microbes respond. Some vanish, some multiply in protest, some hibernate, waiting for peace to return. So even when you begin to feel like yourself again, they still carry the chemical shadows. Your recovery is theirs too. They remember antibiotics, not as a story, but as a flood, sudden, erasing, necessary, but often indiscriminate. An antibiotic doesn't distinguish friend from foe. It clears the ground. And in the emptiness that follows, your microbes try to rebuild. Some return, some don't. Some new ones arrive, never seen before. And in this regrowth, you become someone slightly different. There are studies now gathering slow and patient data, following people for years, watching how the microbiome remembers. One study found that people who eat the same meals at the same time every day build microbial patterns, like clockwork, a steady rhythm that helps digestion, sleep, and even emotional stability. Another study followed the gut microbiomes of twins. One exercised, one didn't. One ate plant-based, one didn't. And slowly, their microbes grew apart, becoming as distinct as the lives they lived. Even identical genes couldn't stop time from shaping difference inside. The foods you eat most often become your microbial language. It's fermented vegetables, fiber, complex carbohydrates. They're not just good for you, they're familiar to your microbes. They've learned to expect them, to rely on them. And just like people thrive in stability, your microbes thrive in patterns. Flourish when their ecosystem is predictable. When nourishment arrives like seasons, but break the pattern too often, and some microbes fade. Like flowers in a neglected garden, they don't protest loudly, they simply stop blooming. Microbial memory is also about adaptation. When you travel to a new country, eat different food, drink different water, your gut doesn't panic. It adjusts. There may be discomfort at first, a gurgle, a change in rhythm, a quiet protest. But over days or weeks, new bacteria join the mix, local ones from new food and water sources. Your microbiome shifts, learning a new dialect, and when you return home, some of those new microbes stay. Like souvenirs, they become part of your story. This adaptability is powerful. It means your gut remembers, but it also means it forgives. It means healing is possible, that even after disruption, balance can return. If your microbiome has carried stress, antibiotics, grief, poor diet, it also carries the potential for renewal. Start moving, start nourishing, start resting, and your microbes will respond. Not overnight, but steadily, like a choir finding its harmony again. There's an ancient comfort in knowing that your body isn't just reacting to the world, it's learning from it, that your microbes are not just passengers, but partners, historians. Even, they don't just digest your meals, they digest your life. They carry the molecular memory of who you've been, what you felt, how you've lived, and they pass some of that memory on. It's from mother to child. Microbial communities are shared. It's through birth, through milk, through touch. Your mother's microbiome shaped yours. Her food, her stress, her soil, passed to you like an inheritance, not just genes, systems, and so it goes. A generational chain. Each link adapting, evolving, but never starting from scratch. Maybe this is why some things feel familiar before you've lived them. Why comfort food tastes like memory. Why certain smells bring tears. Maybe your body remembers more than your mind does. Maybe your microbes hold echoes of lives you didn't know you were carrying. Even your preferences, sweet or sour, spice or bland, may reflect microbial influence. Some microbes crave sugar. Others thrive on fiber. They send signals, tiny chemical nudges, to influence what you want. So when you crave a certain dish, when you find comfort in certain meals, ask yourself gently, is it memory? Is it biology? Or is it both? Atia, a story told in many voices. Your brain speaks one way, your microbes speak another, but together they write who you are. You are not just shaped by thought, but by biology, by food, by time, by invisible communities that rise and fall within you. And if that feels strange, let it also feel beautiful, because it means you are not alone inside your body. You are accompanied, remembered, shaped by life, even at the smallest scale. Close your eyes for a moment. Let everything slow. Let your breath be the only thing you follow in. Out, a tide. Gentle and ancient. Now imagine this. With every breath, you are cradling a world, because deep inside you, beneath thought and skin, beneath the beat of your heart and the whisper of blood, there is a living peace, not a silence, but a hum, a quiet, cellular choir of life that is not exactly you, but has always been with you. You carry trillions of microbes, more numerous than your own human cells. They live in your gut, on your skin, in your mouth, through your airways. They hum softly, working in shifts, metabolizing, fermenting, digesting, protecting. You rarely feel them, but they are there, always. It's not as noise, but as balance. When your body is at rest, your microbes are not asleep, okay? They're still busy, still communicating, still forming the chemical language of calm. Some of them produce serotonin. It's the neurotransmitter most associated with peace and happiness. In fact, most of your serotonin isn't made in your brain, it's made in your gut. Others produce GABA, a calming messenger that soothes nerves like warm milk before bed. Still others fine-tune your immune system, filter toxins, or weave nutrients into forms your body can use. And somehow, in this unseen place, a mood is born, a calm is built, not all at once, not loudly, but layer by layer, breath by breath. And if you listen, not with your ears, but with awareness, you can sense the echo of that harmony in your body. The comfort after a nourishing meal, the steadiness after a walk in the woods, tidiness after gentle stretching, it's the clarity after deep rest. These moments are not made by your mind alone. They are co-authored. It's by microbes who know you, who are you. In a way, they do not have minds of their own, but together they shape yours. There is peace in knowing this, that your body contains balance, not chaos, that health is not a war, but a quiet collaboration, that you don't have to do it all, because you are already supported by millions of invisible hands, and that when you feel off, it is not your fault, but maybe a shift in this inner music. Maybe all you need is time, stillness, a return to rhythm. There is a growing body of science. It's exploring how people who nurture their microbiome often feel better, not just in the gut, but in the mind. They sleep deeper, recover faster, feel more resilient in the face of stress. And it's not from pills, not always from treatments. Sometimes it's as simple as fermented foods, as fiber-rich meals, as walking daily or taking deep breaths. These aren't cures. They're invitations for the peace inside you to return to its natural shape. And you don't need to chase perfection. Your microbes don't ask for purity, only consistency, only kindness. They forgive the skipped meals, the long nights, the seasons of imbalance, just as the forest regrows after fire. Just as tide returns after drought, your body too is designed to heal, given quiet, given nourishment, given patience. Imagine a warm cup of tea, the scent of chamomile, the softness of dim light, the safety of being unhurried. That's what your microbes feel when your nervous system is calm. They, too, have rhythm. And when you breathe slowly, they fall into harmony, even the food you eat feeds more than hunger. It feeds chemistry, emotion, memory, and sometimes even hope. There is research now on the gut-brain axis and trauma, okay? How people who faced deep stress or adversity show shifts in microbial balance. It doesn't mean their microbes cause suffering, but it means the whole body remembers. The mind, the belly, the immune system, all hold threads of experience. And so, healing must be whole too. A laugh that fills the chest, a meal that brings tears, a sleep that finally restores. These are not minor things. They are microbial things, chemical things, sacred things. Your microbes are not aware of you, but you can become aware of them, not with microscopes, but with gentleness. Notice how you feel after certain meals, after rest, after connection. Notice what feels like balance, what doesn't, and let that noticing be the beginning of trust, not just in science, but in yourself, in your gut, in your second brain, in the wisdom of the body. Because inside you, beneath skin and breath, there is no emptiness. There is only movement, only memory, only peace, living peace, biological peace, evolved through millennia to support life, your life. When you lie in bed tonight, know that even as your conscious mind dims, your body continues its quiet symphony. Your microbes still work, still speak, still shape. And this symphony is not for an audience. It is for you, for your well-being, for your clarity, for your deep and lasting calm. You may wake up tomorrow and forget all of this, and that's okay. You don't need to remember everything, because your body does. It remembers how to heal, how to return to rhythm, how to find stillness from the inside out. You are not alone in your body. You never were. And perhaps that's why you were never fully lost. Not even in your hardest days. Not even when your thoughts turned stormy. Not even when you felt empty. Because even then, the peace inside you was still alive and still waiting to be heard again.